Yeah, hello and welcome to a new episode of our weekly Spielworxx chat, season 2. My name is Uli Blennemann and I'm having a guest today, Lukas Boch of the Boardgame Historian organization. Lukas, how are you?
Yeah, hi Uli. Yeah, thank you that you invite me to this very interesting project. And I feel very good, a bit nervous because this is my first presentation on English, so please be nice. Yeah.
We have so many brutes in here. It is a nightmare. No, everybody is very nice, and I'm 100% sure you're doing very well, especially compared to my English. This will be wonderful. And I'm already seeing Daniel here, designer Daniel Newman from the US. Daniel is saying, I made it. Yeah, sometimes he's 20 minutes late in here. Wonderful seeing you. And by the way, to everyone, if you have a question, if you're having a comment, please put it into the chat window and Lukas will respond. Because Lukas has all the stress. I'm just asking a few questions and he has to provide the answers. Um, Lukas, please introduce yourself and what you are doing professionally and how you started gaming.
Yeah, also first, I studied history and Catholic theology in the University of Münster in Germany. I do my Master of Education, so for Lehramt as a history teacher, and at the same time I do the Master of Arts in History. So during my studium, I often deal with history as a special kind. Yes, and after my exam, I get the great opportunity to get a job as a research assistant at the Seminar für historische Theologie und ihre Didaktik, also for historical theology and its didactics. It sounds a bit weird, maybe, so let me
It
introduce
does.
you.
It does, but
Yeah,
please go.
completely. Our aim is to try to link the study of church history again to a broader public. So it's a very great problem that lots of academics. Oh, sorry. Lots of academic disciplines, living in something like the Elfenbeinturm. It's like a wizard tower in English.
Yeah, I think so. An ivory tower.
Ivory
It
tower,
could
yeah.
be. It could be. Yes, that's true. They are very isolated
Yes.
and detached from maybe what you are saying normal life. Yeah.
And especially the church historians are a very specific group. And I have the great opportunity that my doctor father himself is prized, and he know that there's a problem, and so I get the opportunity to research about board games as a medium of church historical culture. Maybe we could talk about this later a little bit more. And I specify on motives from the church history of the Middle Ages in modern board games. So this is my dissertation I'm working on in the moment.
Which is very special, of course, as well. And I think you're really, no pun intended, you're really blessed that you are able to do this in the within the university. So
Yeah.
it's the Middle Ages in history and their representation in games, or
Yes. That is the idea. So, which motives, like, for example, monks? So, in which circumstances monks appear in modern games, and which role, do they play in this game? So, for example, on the one hand, you have this type of cleric that lurks around and work in the Inquisition, and on the other hand, you have the fat, nice monk that always drinks beer. And here's the question: which of these stereotypes? I think that is a good explanation. Stereotypes of church history you find in these games, and especially which role did these types have?
yeah, very interesting. We will get to this a little bit later in more detail, for sure. But then you formed as a team an organization, Board Game Historian. So what is who and what is Board Game Historian? And let me please put the URL of your organization in here. So done that. So please explain us what is Boardgame Historian.
Yes, so in short, it's a project by academic historians and scholars from other disciplines of humanities like philosophy or ethnology. We always have archaeologists in our team. Yes, and that's basically about history in and of board games. Yes, and the initiator of this project are Anna Clara Falke, an archaeologist, a classical archaeologist, and myself. But it's very important that we cannot do the things we do without the help of other enthusiasts. For example, Toni Janusz Krause, who has agreed to keep a close eye on our redaction, yes, of the text.
Editing, the editing.
Yes, editing, yeah. On the other example is Robin Reschke, who was the first who contacted us as we published this blog. And many, many more, like Max Rose, or there are so many, I don't want to forget someone. Max Rose, Markus Bassermann, and also Barbara Sterzenbach, Therese Bayer, and Susanne Staniskowska. Yes, so we have a great team, and we try to implement something like an editorial team, but this is something we are working on at the moment. So lots of great people who work together on the topic of history in games.
Very, very interesting. But of course, you have an interest in, you as a group, you have an interest in history, you have an interest in gaming, but still, why did you form this organization? So having an interest does not mean or does not lead to forming something. Why did you form this as a organization?
I think it starts with my lecture on Spiel Digital last year, where I present a paper about the Middle Ages in modern board games. And I got lots of positive feedback. And then on the next step, we start like all the cool kids an Instagram account. We managed to grow very quickly. So after 3 months, we have 1,000 followers. And so we think, that's a theme people are interested in. And our next step was to found this blog. And there's a very cool opinion. The blog platform Hypothesis. I don't know if you know this. It's an academic network of scientific blogs. And the cool thing is that if you do it on this platform, you get an ISSN if you publish regular articles. And so this is one way for us to go into the scientific community with our research, because the main problem is that, or fear was, that we can get only be heard as the funny game uncles or aunts who don't do serious work, and so that is a great opportunity for us to get into the scientific community. Yes, and so that was the way. But the real problem was, I think you all know this, there's a great research about digital games.
Yes.
So lots of humanities scholars work on this topic, but on board games, especially the image of history in board games, you have a very not so much research about. There are many reasons why. And of course, you also have some magazines like the Board Game Studies that was founded in 1996, I think so. But this group focus on history of board games, like archaeologically, also net on this thing we are searching. And on the other hand, there you have the analog game studies, but there's a very American discourse about things. You have lots of pen and paper and things like this, and not the classical board games. And of course, you have nothing in German. Maybe a few articles, but it's very, very low.
I agree 100%, and it's very good to see this in German language as well. To see this in general, but then especially also in German language. And yeah, you are unique in tabletop gaming, especially as a group of academic historians. And do you feel you are getting more and more attention recently, or are you drawing attention to your project now?
Fortunately, yes. Through our appearance on social media, especially Twitter, I was first completely confused about this platform, but now I really start to like it. You can really quick get contact to other producer of content or publishers, authors. So we get the opportunity to cooperate with some publishers as well, or have the opportunity to go to podcasts and so on. And a very interesting thing is that almost everywhere the project was regarded with interest. So for example, Rainer Stockhausen, the author of All Young, was so pleased when I asked him how he constructed the Middle Ages in his game All Young, because after all, many authors think a lot about their setting. Who I tell, and I think sometimes they just wanted to get asked.
Yeah.
And the problem is that the academic historians till now not do this. So there's a gap we try to fill. And
Please go on. Please go on.
and on the other hand, we network in the scientific community, and this is very nice that also there we received within academia very positive feedback. Because, as I told, I was worried that I would be quickly labeled as the one who only play and do not do research. But the real scientists really like this topic. I presented this in a colloquium of medievalists, and they were completely grateful about this. Yes, that is very nice.
Yeah.
I think, but I think it's very important that you don't neglect your own discipline. Also, you have to do the research you done before, like I'm a medievalist, and then you add to research in games, in the game studies. If you only concentrated on game studies alone, there could be really become a problem.
I think so. And what you mentioned as a gap, I think this is absolutely true. A lot of, from my perspective, a lot of academic people have a distance or keep a distance from pop culture. And this is something this gap is definitely narrowing as more and more people, younger people, are used to playing first probably video games with a historical topic and then move along to tabletop games. So I think, but still, people like you need to bridge this gap and tell people what is possible in games. And by the way, Daniel is mentioning in the chat that Orleans was the first game I thought of when you mentioned monks, and it is. Nice. It is everybody, and we are getting to this. Everybody has a picture in front of yourself or in their heads that you see a monk and you have a picture from a movie, from a book, or maybe from a game, and this is really interesting. And moving to another question here, historical movies and documentaries, they are generally well accepted. Books, no question asked, they are of course as well very much accepted. But why not games in general? And which problems do games seem to have? And what are the differences? So this is a huge block here now between games and movies and books.
I think first it's a very good question. I think on one point is that there's still a prejudice that games are only for kids. It's just fun and don't really matter. Besides it, there is a prejudice that in games, also that's real historians, I use this term, I know that's not really correct, would say that, in games you cannot find real history because you have, in the worst case, you learn something wrong about history. Called I don't know. You play a battle, and in fact the other side won, but you do something like false history. And I think this is completely wrong, because let me introduce maybe on this point a theory which helps me a lot.
Okay.
And that's the theory of Jörn Rüsen, an historian and culturalist, who invented the term Geschichtskultur, or history culture in English back in the 1990s. And his idea is that historical culture is the complete or the full engagement of a society with with their past. So every products and events you find in this, like statues, or memorial days, or institutions like museums or universities or schools, influence the historical consciousness of the people living in the society. And the important point is that Reason says that even popular culture products have an influence
Absolutely.
on, who I tell, have an influence on the historical consciousness of people. And I would say that this popular culture products have maybe even more influence on the historical cultures as maybe historical publications. Because who read full historical publication? Most people watch films, and this is not a problem, I would say, the first time. But you can you build your image of history with lots of different sources, and board games are one of these sources. So
Well, very well said, Lukas, and I agree 100% that historical perception is seen via pop culture. And to me, one of these examples is a lot of people probably have seen The Crown, the series, and of course there are documentaries of the royal family, of Diana, the 70s, 80s, 90s, what happened, and people have a view of the royal family in England, and of Diana and what had happened. But now that the crown is there, everybody who has seen the crown, and probably many more, especially of young people, have seen the crown than documentaries on the royal family. They view the things that happened in this time through the eyes of this series. I don't see this too as a problem at all. First, it's a fiction series and it's not reality, and everybody has a right to do it and frame it in their stuff. But it's also one reception of this period. And in my opinion, games are the same. It can be. I'm as most people know, I'm a war gamer. It can be dangerous if an author, if the designer of a game, because the output is only as good as the input normally. And if a war game designer who's thinking, I'm serious on this topic, I know everything, uses all the wrong sources, all the wrong input, the output will be also wrong. And so you have to be careful there, but in general, I agree. And before you go on, I have a comment here from Matt. By the way, good to see you, Matt. This is on historical images or images in games. He did not think of Orleans. He thought of heaven and ale. When I think of monks and board games, or as he's saying, drunk monks, as I like to call the game. And Daniel is confirming, Heaven and Ale was the second one after Orleans. And you see, of course, Matt or you, Daniel, you could have thought of an obscure game with a print run of 100. But you're not doing it because pop culture, Orleans is much more popular. Heaven and Ale is much more popular because printed with a high print run. So this is, in my opinion, natural. But do games have? Sorry, I want to ask you this question again. Do games have some problems?
Yes. Also, why? The question is why games are not take serious as a source for history. And I think besides the fact that you think it's just for kids, the second problem is that you have, if you want to analyze games, you have to do this in a specific way. For example, you cannot go as an literarian and use your specific template to analyze books and copy that to analyze a game, because in game have lots of different materials. So on the one hand, you have something like the pictures or the cover. It's very important. If you buy a game, the first thing you will see is the cover. And about this cover, you can learn lots of about which picture of history in this game will be provided. And on the other hand, you have all this little material like miniatures or the game board itself. And on the last thing, now that is the important part, you have the rules. So you play history. And that is very important to understand. If a game achieve to that you link on the one hand the setting, on the other hand the core, the rules, then you have a very strong influence of this picture of history. Let me give you an example. It's completely egal. Sorry.
It does not matter.
Doesn't matter. Yes, it doesn't matter. Which setting do you use for Risiko? So you can play it in the 18th century, or you can play it in Lord of the Ring, or whatever you want. So here is not a strong connection between core and the setting. On the other hand, you have something like Orleans, and we also talk about the monks. So, and if you maybe I can, is it okay if I share my
please go on.
Okay, I try it.
At least the people don't see my face anymore, which is a plus most of the time.
So, do you see it?
No, it's black right now. Now we see it. Yeah.
Okay, I will skip to this German and so use this presentation, but I want to show you one feature. So we have monks here. And now my Photoshop skills arrive. If you put these monks into, oh no, I don't, one. So if you put, yes, and now the monks went to the different buildings.
Yes,
so yes, on the one hand you have this Brauerei or the beer production brewery. Yeah, so here the questions where this image came from, and then you have the sacristy like in chapel. And if you put this monk into this chapel, you are safe for the next negative event which happened in this game. So, and this is, for example, really like the idea of theology or religion in the Middle Ages. So you pray, even more better a holy person like a monk, and then God will save you for the next negative event, like the pest. So, and this is for me an example when setting and rules are very good or are very well linked together. Yes. So,
there you are again. Yeah, this is really also telling us that Rainer Stockhausen knows his stuff, right?
Yeah.
That he did it very well, and also that in a game, graphic presentation can support the story or the background and the research. So it all works hand in hand. Yeah, very good example there. But what are the differences? You mentioned a few here between games and books and movies. What is the largest difference?
Okay, that's maybe the obvious. You're an active person in this. So you consume things like books or movies. And in a game, you are the active person, and you as well, make history in a lower level. This is very complicated. It's different between the normal artifacts or sources you just have to analyze, because in games you have this component of the players who also construct history, and even in each game or in each round you have another idea of history.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that would be the.
Yeah, I think you're right, and to me it's the same. And movies and books are mainly passive things. Although it's not truly passive to read a book, but let's call it passive. But of course, gaming is active. In my opinion, gaming is also more than just. If I read, especially in an history book, I want to learn something, unless it's an historical novel. But in a game, yes, you can still learn something in a very simple format. You mentioned this in Orléans here with the monks, but also it's presenting me with different outcomes. I can look into several different LAs. Would this be possible? Is this a possibility?
Yeah.
So I think this is really what makes gaming so special. And of course, it's if we sit together with Lukas, you and me, and two other people, we can talk to each other and interact. And this, of course, is something that is really important. And I think last year we had here this episode about the MDA analysis, which all tells. Which all explains about this. So people who have not seen this, they can still find it here on YouTube. But I think this is really important. But Lukas, do they have we touched on this, do they have a responsibility or don't they?
There are people who say that games are not political. Went out of my game, so this is my private space. And I think that is a problem because every game is part of society, is part of a culture, and so it's of course political in a special way. I think it's important to think about what we do in a game, and I don't know. I don't want to. Forbidden,
prohibited.
Sometimes it's so easy. I don't want to forbid games, but I want that people reflect about what they do in a game. And a very good example is the last discussions about colonialism in games. So as this games was invented, there was no problem for this because you have no there are no people who was offended, or I don't know if offended is the right word. I think better is touched by the theme. So and through the globalization of the market, of the global market, you have people who are touched by the themes. Maybe they come from this country, and of course, no, they have something to say about this. And I think this is in lots of different settings a very important question. So what we do here, because these games influence the ideas about the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. Mentioning colonial themed games, they were always done from the perspective of some Westerners and how they see it. And whereas in books, or let's put it differently, gaming so far was 20 years behind books in the views of colonial topics, and this seems to change now.
And the interesting thing is that this setting about colonialism was influenced by this older books about Karl May or yes. That's just very interesting thing.
And again, we are back in pop culture where everything influences everything, and this is also very interesting too. Yeah.
Maybe this is one, especially a very, very interesting part of my study. So I asked how authors constructed their specific image of history, and maybe I could do another I could go
Share
now
your
to the
screen?
presentation.
Yes,
Yes,
please go on. In the meantime, I'm saying hello to Nick. Good seeing you. And Nick, you're late, very late. It's a nightmare with you. But
So,
Nick actually, and we will talk about this very soon. He has a game on the Middle Ages.
very interesting.
Yeah.
So, do you see?
May we still see you?
Okay, no. No, no. You see anything?
Nope, no screen sharing so far.
Okay, let me try it again, and then so okay. Whoop. No.
It seems to be now we see something black. There it is. Yeah, there it
Okay,
is.
perfect. So,
And Lukas, by the way, yeah, okay, we are there. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, everything's fine.
Here, for example, is a cover of All Young, and I don't know if you all know this. This cover is a one-to-one copy of a real source. It's Image du Mans from northern France at 30th century. And here you can see that it's a real one-to-one copy, in fact. And I think this is a very interesting use of authenticity. So the people see this cover and they see this typical medieval style. So this is one option. You can create something like authenticity in medieval games. And now we have something different. And maybe you can imagine this. Did any one of you now wears on the right plate? Maybe in the chat. I don't see this. Maybe Uli, did anyone notice who these people are?
No, not yet. I know them. I think they are from. Is this Monty Python? Is this
yes.
correct? Yeah. Okay.
Knights of the Caucasus. Now, Monty Python. Yes. Yes, and that is a very good example for how games here. Well, sorry. No, here the original image.
Yeah.
So you have the reception of the reception, and the picture on the left side. Maybe you know this Franciscan monk. Do you know out of which source or which movie this person came?
Yeah, it's the what's the title? In English, the Rose.
Name of the Rose.
Name of the Rose is this the title? Name of the Rose is the title in English. Yeah.
So
and by the way, it is Daniel is confirming this Monty Python and the Holy Grail is the English title.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very interesting examples how you have this reception of the reception, because in this game you have no explanation of this artwork. So if you don't know this movie, you cannot analyze these pictures. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, because millions of people have seen it and they immediately know, this must be medieval times. We know this guy or these guys.
Yeah, it's a good old Sean Connery. So thank you.
Yeah, this is definitely very interesting, very, very interesting in gaming and how it is used. But Lukas, where do you see your organization in 5 years? So have you conquered the world, the academic world, or where do you see yourself?
First of all, I hope that I get my PhD in this in this time. But jokes aside, I would really, I hope that we get something like a mark or an institution like Boardgame Historian in 6 years. It would be really nice if we managed to get something like a conference, a yearly conference where academics can come together, talk about their research, about analog games. We have this in the English community on the GameCon tomorrow. I think there's something, but I would really love to see this also in German, because we have a really unique board game culture here, and I think there is lots of to discover. Because maybe one thing, one very interesting topic is to analyze how the different historical cultures of different countries match together. So, for example, there's a game called Glory, a Game of Knights. From a Czech publisher, and there you have the Crusades, and there's a Hussite wagons, so that is their image when they talk about Crusades. And if we talk about Crusades, it's clearly going to the Holy Land.
Yeah.
And I think that's very interesting to research about. So one thing is the conference. The other thing is that I hope that we maybe get something like, I don't know, a game lab or something. Maybe we manage to get something like research founds. But first,
you definitely should have some research money, so that some game designers can immediately turn in some games that you finance. That would be nice. But now you have a huge block of work, Lukas. So first you have to finish your dissertation, PhD thesis. Then you have to run the conference. So it needs to be done next year, of course. Then your wonderful presentation you did is just in German language. So now you have to translate this into English as well. And so a lot to do.
Maybe one thing, because it's of interest for some people, next year we will do a museum exhibition in the Abtei Lisbon about monks, nuns, and monasteries in modern board games. I'm really looking forward to this, and about to present games as exhibitions objects in the museum. That would be very fun.
Very, very interesting thing. And Lukas, thank you very much for everything, for your presentation today. Good luck with your PhD thesis. I'm sure it will work out perfectly. And it was a pleasure having you here. How can people reach you if they want to do this? What is best?
I think Twitter is one good place to reach us. The blog is very good, and you can always write me about lukasboch@uni-münster.de. Maybe, it's also a good point. But on the blog, you will find under the Impressum a way, or about social media, Twitter or Instagram. It's Boardgame Histo. We can link that beneath the video.
Definitely I'll do this. And Herr Janosch is saying, don't forget the call for blog posts.
Oh, thank you, Tony. It's very good that there are some people from the Boardgame historian here, because I forget everything. There's the call for blog posts we launched for the Spiel 2021. So we collect papers from academians about their perspective on analog games. So we nearly get over 12, 13 texts we will get, and that's something we really enjoyed, or we're really looking for. So that's the first academic publication we can do out of our context. Thank you, Tony.
Very good. What is the deadline for these calls?
Yes, the 14th of I have to check this.
September?
14th night. Yes. One month before the Spiel. If anyone here like to participate, please. There are only 10,000 signs, so that should be really short texts. And we at the Boardgame historian team do the editorial work, and we are happy to reach something out in English too. But it's not have to be German.
So
not everyone at our team are so versed in speaking English like me.
everything worked out nice. Don't worry, Lukas. And thank you again very much. Thank you, viewers. And next week it will be a regular episode with me presenting Spielworxx news, mainly the Smoky Valley, and some industry news as well. Thank you for your time. If you would like to see a special topic discussed, or have a question that you'd like to ask in advance, please drop me a mail at uli@spielworxx.de. That is uli@spielworxx.de. So till next week, bleibt alle gesund, Black Lives Matter. Bye bye. Bye.
Bye.